Hi, everyone. Good evening if you're in New York or somewhere nearby. Good morning, good afternoon if you're elsewhere. My name is Julie Dobrow. I'm the Dean of Admissions and Financial Aid at the School of the Arts, and I am also an extremely proud alum of this very program, the MFA in Theater Management and Producing. So welcome. Thank you so much for being here for our online Q&A session. We have two faculty members here, Stephen Chailkelson and Tori Bailey. They will tell you a bit more about the program, show you some fun pictures, and then there'll be plenty of opportunity for you to ask questions. Without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Stephen.
Thank you, Julie. Um, and hi, everybody. What we've learned over the past number of years of doing this Q&A session is that a lot of people, well, some people come and visit us and share this experience live. And some people, a lot of people, wind up watching the recording over the course of the year. So to those of you who are here live in the Zoom room, hello.
Hello.
And to And to those of you who are watching this at some point over the next 12 months or so, hello. And we hope to have the chance to be with you live, either in Zoom or even better in person at some point in the near future. So this is the 2025 info session and Q&A for the MFA concentration in theater management and producing at the Columbia University School of the Arts. We're going to talk with you about the program, share some fun images, and then at the end have a little bit of time if there are any questions. So first, our faculty is made up of full-time faculty and adjunct faculty. And I'm just going to introduce myself. I'm Stephen Chailkelson. I'm a professor of professional practice. I've been the concentration director of theater management and producing for a little over 20 years, and been teaching in the program for a little bit longer than that. Wearing my other hat, I'm also a general manager and producer. My company is Snug Harbor Productions, and I have worked on Broadway, off Broadway, around the country and around the world for many years. Tori?
I'm Tori Bailey. Nice to see you all. I'm an assistant professor in the program. I have a long association with the management and producing program. Have been an adjunct faculty member for over 20 years. I also, in my other professional pursuits, I was for 20 years the general finance manager, business manager, and then general manager at the Manhattan Theater Club, which is a not-for-profit theater here in New York City, doing primarily new plays as well as revivals. And after that, after 20 years at MTC, I was at Theater Development Fund, which is the largest nonprofit performing arts service organization in the country, as the executive director. And I stepped away from TDF 2 years ago and have been spending more time teaching, working as a facilitator for board retreats and doing some work on boards myself. Welcome. Glad to be here. Glad to see your names pop up, and welcome to the folks who come in after this.
Tori and I are full-time faculty members in the program, and we also serve as advisors to all the theater management and producing students. Our partner in crime is the fabulous Christina Selby. Christina's an alum of the theater management and producing program. She's also vice president of production and touring at the Nederlander organization, and she heads up our internship advising. And we're going to start this conversation now by thinking big at Columbia University and then zooming in to what is the theater management and producing program. So to orient you a little bit, we are the Columbia University School of the Arts, and that is a school within the larger Columbia University. There are many different schools at Columbia, including Columbia Law School, Columbia Business School, the Medical School, the School of Journalism, and others. So we are
and the college.
And Columbia College, School of General Studies, list goes on. So we are a school at Columbia University. We have 4 divisions or programs within the school, and they are film, theater, writing, and visual arts. And what you're looking at there in the picture is the entrance to Dodge Hall, which is our primary building for classrooms and administration, located at 116th Street and Broadway. As we zoom into the theater program, which is also known as the Oscar Hammerstein II Center for Theater Studies, our theater program offers 6 different concentrations, MFA degrees in acting, directing, dramaturgy, playwriting, stage management, and theater management and producing. And then we also offer a joint JD, MFA in theater management and producing with Columbia Law School. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later in this conversation. And I guess the big question for people who are here today or who are watching this video, or at least what we think is probably the first question you should be asking yourselves, is why an MFA to begin with? And I think what I would normally say right off the bat is you do not need an MFA to work in the theater. So the question is an MFA right for you? And there are a number of different reasons why an MFA might be right for you as opposed to getting a job, having a job, and essentially learning on the job and working your way up in the business. And I think maybe first and foremost, and the bullet that doesn't appear on this slide is it gives you the ability to step back and think.
Mm-hmm.
Think about the industry, think about your place in the industry, ask questions, which in a typical work environment, you might not have time to do. And even if you did, the people around you might not have time to answer. In terms of our MFA, and I think what any MFA program should be giving you, is both a sense of the big picture and an opportunity for in-depth study. It should give you a lot of tools that you can use in your professional practice. It should provide colleagues for you, opportunities for networking and building your contacts. I know that having an MFA, if you're interested in teaching at some point in the future, is really helpful because an MFA is considered a terminal degree, which means that you can teach with an MFA. You don't need to have a PhD. So that can be really valuable for anybody who's interested in teaching either full-time or even part-time as adjunct faculty. And then finally, sort of going along with that idea of thinking is the hope that you get inspired, that all that thinking actually inspires you and maybe opens your eyes to opportunities that you didn't know about previously or gets you thinking in new ways.
And if I can jump in, I think one of the things that being in school does is it gives you an opportunity to take the time to figure out what kind of producer you want to be, what kind of theater maker you want to be, because there are a lot of different ways to walk through that world. And it really helps you figure out what's the best fit for you, which of course then helps you be as good and effective and successful as you can be.
I think one of the things we take great pride in is meeting someone during the admissions process and having them tell us exactly what they want from their life and what they want to do in the theater. And they're brilliant, and we admit them to the program, and they come into the program, and 2 years later, they've completely changed their mind. And going in a different direction, which is totally fine. And frankly, that's an important reason or justification for graduate study. Because you don't know what you don't know.
That's right.
So beyond MFA programs in general and what I would hope they deliver for students, then there's the question of why Columbia in particular. And I think there aspects of our program that are things that we offer that maybe aren't offered in other programs or aren't offered in the same way in other programs. For starters, the program is highly individualized. Yes, there are a lot of requirements in terms of courses that you must take or requirements that you need to fulfill. But the way you go about fulfilling those requirements, which courses you take as electives, what projects you work on, what internships you pursue, what your thesis topic is, all of those help you to specialize and help individualize the program for each student. And what we really try to do as advisors is in our meetings with our advisees, really dig into where the student is at that particular moment in their life and in their education, what they're looking for, what types of experiences might benefit them strategically, what sort of things they might want to be exposed to that they definitely don't want to do in their career, but it'd be really helpful if they got some experience and had some exposure to a particular area. So we do a lot of strategizing throughout the process, and that's what helps to individualize the program for each student. We balance academic studies and professional engagement. It's hard to go a single day as a student in the program without connecting to something that's happening in the real world, or sitting in someone's office in Midtown, or in class at a theater in Midtown, or talking about current events as part of the really rigorous academic studies that accompany that. I think there are some programs where you kind of get sequestered and you're in an academic program for a period of time and then you're turned loose into the world. That's not this program. You really are a part of the professional New York community from day one.
On any given day, you're back and forth between Midtown or downtown or Brooklyn and the classroom.
Another important feature of our program is that we balance the commercial theater and the not-for-profit theater. We believe there is a strong interaction between the two. I like to say it's an ecosystem. And so it's not that we focus on one area versus another area, it's that we balance the two.
And go back and forth.
Yeah, go back and forth, sometimes in the same class session.
Often.
In terms of the focus of the program, we also balance management and administration with producing and entrepreneurship. So there are some programs that are very much management and arts administration focused, almost exclusively so. There are other programs that are more producing oriented. We are a balance of both. I think a theme, perhaps, of our program is balance and trying to cover a lot of different bases. The curriculum balances building skills with tackling industry issues with, I think, if you looked at the curriculum really in depth, the first year of the program is a little more weighted towards skills building. And the second year of the program is a little more issues oriented, but neither year is exclusively one or the other. You get a lot of history in the program, history of the business, how the business currently works, and we are forever questioning our current operations and seeming best practices and thinking about how to make things better in the future. Our focus also, even though we're very proud of being in New York City and we take the utmost advantage of being in New York City, we have a broad national focus, both in terms of our curriculum as well as our alumni, and more international activity as well, especially as we'll talk about London and producing in the UK. So zooming in now on some of the nuts and bolts requirements of the program. We admit usually between 8 to 10 students per year. Our current first year class is 10 students. It's a 3-year program, 2 years of full-time study, and a third year, which is a thesis year, during which most students actually are working full-time while researching and writing their thesis. So it's 2 years in the classroom, and that's a little bit of a misnomer because even though you're in the classroom, you are still out in the world, you're still doing internships. There's a lot of professional activity in those first 2 years, balanced with class time. But then in that third thesis year, really just about everybody who wants to is working full time. You're required to take 60 credits over those first 2 years, which breaks down to roughly 15 credits per semester. And in terms of time commitment, that's generally between 15 to 20 hours of class time per week. And on top of that, within that, we have some opportunity for electives built in. And then again, depending upon how somebody wants to tailor their particular journey through the program, you can take electives on top of that. So in the first year, there's an opportunity to take 1 elective per semester. And in the second year, there's an opportunity to take 2 electives per semester. We're on a semester system. It's 2 semesters each year, fall and spring. Fall running from September through December, and spring semester from January through the beginning of May. We have balanced out with the time in the classroom, we have a lot of production requirements. And they range from first year crew assignments, which in most cases means serving as the company manager for an acting thesis production, a directing thesis production, or a new play by one of our playwrights, like one of our third year playwrights in our new play festival. So everybody in their first year does a crew assignment, and in most, though not all cases, that's a company management role. We have a strong emphasis on collaboration. It's one of the advantages of the theater program, where we have all the students together in one program. We don't have a separate management school. We don't have a separate acting program. We're all together in one program, and we try to take advantage of that by having students both in the classroom together as well as working together on production. And we'll talk shortly, a little bit later in this session, about some of the expanded collaboration opportunities that we've set up. And then on top of that, all students need to fulfill a certain number of producing requirements, where you take an active role as a producer and or general manager of a second or third year student productions. Tori, do you want to talk a little bit about the internships?
Yeah, I think the important thing to understand about internships is we call them internships. They're really, hopefully it is a work experience. To some of you really are going into offices or different situations and working. We always say it's a minimum of 3 internships. A lot of students do more than 3. And Christina does a spectacular job of working with you to figure out what the best fit for you is. In general, the advice we give is do 1 internship that's directly related to what you imagine and think is going to be your interest and focus. Another internship that's about something you're pretty sure you don't want to do, but A, you should learn about, and B, you need exposure to. And then the third internship is, it's all over the map. We kind of work with you to figure out what's going to be best for you. People work in offices during the school year. They tend to be 20 hours, give or take. And people work in offices all over the city, often during the summer. In particular, if someone is interested in working in a general management office, they may be closer to 40 hours. They'll be full-time, but you have time available because it's the summer and you're not in class. Internships can also be all over the country. We have a student who, in their third year, the summer between their second and third year, she went to La Jolla, one of the country's largest not-for-profit regional theaters in California, and she was at La Jolla all summer and then actually did a second internship there in the fall. So it really is what we have students who, for international students, who one of their internships has been working over the summer back home on some area that is of interest to them, that the student and Christina think would be a good fit for them. So it's really wide open, but the idea is that these are experiences that are providing you with real life exposure to what's going on in the producing workplace, and really an opportunity again to try out different things and figure out what feels best for you.
Many of these internships are paid
Yeah.
internships. And again, just to emphasize what Tori said about internships as a kind of term of art, we have it in quotation marks there. It could be a fellowship, an observership, a traditional internship, a part-time job, a full-time job during the summer or in the third year. So it really is quite a range.
And we think another thing that's important is that because the program has a history in New York City, we have very strong relationships with a whole lot of offices and theaters, and we have a really good track record of not only providing internships for people interested in having them, but the people that host interns or fellows understand what the students are capable of doing, and in general, it's meaningful work.
And I think there's another important aspect of our internship advising process.
Yes.
There are some programs where you would be told this is going to be your first internship, this is going to be your second internship, and this is going to be your third internship. We do not do that. We work with you to empower you to provide connections, to help you network. We help you work on your resumes, your cover letters, your emails. We do interview prep. So it really is the internship process is a holistic training for the professional world opportunity. Free tickets, exclamation mark.
Free tickets, free tickets, free tickets.
It is really important that balanced with everything else you're doing as a student, that you go to see as much theater as possible. We provide many opportunities for students to attend theater for free, from Broadway to off Broadway, to everything, to readings, to workshops. And we encourage you to see as much theater as you possibly can, not only because we talk about things in the classroom and it becomes relevant to classroom discussions, but also so you can sort of build your skills in talking about theater, figure out what you like and why.
It's also really an opportunity. This is one of those places where I think it gives you as a student the opportunity to go, oh, that's the kind of work I want to do, or oh, that's who is it who's I like this play and I like that play I saw a month ago. Oh, that's the same producer. That's the same general management office. That's a place where I think I would like to work, right? So that especially in the first year where people generally don't do internships the first year, doesn't mean you can if it doesn't make sense for you when you sit down with us and we talk about what's best for you. But I spend a lot of time with my advisees when I meet with them first year, saying, how many things did you see last week? Right? What did you see? What did you like? What are the spaces you like? So it's more than just free tickets. It's free tickets and the ability to talk about what you're seeing.
And then there's the final component of the program, which is writing the thesis, researching and writing the thesis, and we'll zoom in a little bit more on that shortly. Just to give you a sense, this is the adjunct faculty for the 2025-2026 school year, all of whom are working professionals, working in all various areas of producing, management, marketing, accounting, legal, etc. in here in New York. And I'm just pausing and taking a breath to leave that slide up for a moment. So that was our faculty, our adjunct faculty. In terms of our students, we pride ourselves on bringing together a cohort with really diverse backgrounds and experiences, and I use diversity in every sense of the word. In terms of focusing in on national and international diversity, we have students from New York City, from around the country, and from around the world. In terms of our international student population, Columbia University in and of itself has one of the largest international student populations in America. At the School of the Arts, just about a third of the student body is international, coming this year from 58 countries. And in terms of the theater management and producing concentration specifically, 40% of those 8 to 10 students per year in the 3 current classes are international. So let's talk about facilities. We don't have one building where everything is housed. We are spread out across the upper west side of Manhattan from 115th Street up to about 133rd Street. And this slide shows various locations that the producing students might visit on the Morningside campus, which the Morningside campus ranges roughly from 114th or so up to about 122nd Street or so. And we have the Shapiro down at the bottom left of the map. We have the Shapiro Theater and Studio, which is our black box theater, and our studio, where we primarily do second-year productions. We have Dodge Hall, which is where we are now, or where I'm coming to you from right at this moment, at 116th and Broadway. If you head to the right side of that map, you see Columbia Law School circled, and that's where I teach my law and theater seminar that includes students from both the law school and the producing program. Up at Teachers College is the Arts Administration program, and our students take electives occasionally in the Arts Administration program, and some of those students cross-register and take courses with the producing students. So a little bit of cross-pollination there. We also have a small footprint in the tower at Riverside Church and in another building at Riverside Church where there are both classroom and rehearsal studio spaces. As we move a little further uptown to 125th Street, we have our newest building, which is the Lenfest Center for the Arts, which we'll zoom in on shortly. That's at 125th Street. And our Nash classrooms, rehearsal studios, and our scene shop, prop shop, and costume shop up on Broadway and 133rd Street. That's our Manhattanville campus footprint. And zooming in on the Lenfest Center for the Arts, this is our newest building. It opened a few years ago. It is a School of the Arts building that has a film screening room, art gallery, and flexible theater space.
Which you see in the lower corner there with the red seats.
That's right. That's one configuration for that space. And that's where we present, I like to call that our main stage. That's where we present our third-year thesis productions and our new play festival. But really, those various Morningside and Manhattanville footprints aside, really New York City is your classroom. And the producing students move around the city.
All over the city.
So depending upon what class you're in, You might be in Midtown or downtown every day for every week for that particular class. You may have field trips, seeing shows. It's really a wide range. Use the city as much as we possibly can. Focusing in on our curriculum, we have sort of put up this slide to just show the different areas of study that our curriculum touches on. In some cases, an individual class might hit one of these areas, and then there are other classes that hit multiple areas. And they range from accounting and finance to budgeting and contracts and creative development and EDIA, fundraising and development, and both on the commercial fundraising side and the not-for-profit fundraising side. History and theory of theater, international production, human resources and labor relations, management and administration, and marketing and audience development. And that's our most recent fun faculty get-together on that page.
Yep.
I am not going to read out all of these courses on this slide, so I'll leave it to you all to read this or to come back to it at some point in the future. But just to say that we take a look at our curriculum every single year, if not twice a year. We look at the industry, we look at how things are changing, and we respond to that. So
we ask ourselves, what are we teaching? What's missing? What is there something there that isn't really as important as it used to be? So we're really constantly recalibrating the courses that we offer.
It's a living, breathing curriculum that responds to the changing nature of the industry. And just as an example of that, you can see that in 2025, we have added 4 new courses, 2 of them with the focus on collaboration. One course, Unpacking the U.S. Resident Theater, which Tori teaches, based in the management program, but open to students from all other concentrations. And a new course focusing on public sector policy and data and research. Tori, do you want to say anything about your class in particular?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting example of how courses evolve. We'll talk about this a little bit more in a moment, but we have an increasing commitment to and focus on collaboration in this theater program at the School of the Arts between all of the various concentrations and disciplines. And I was interested in developing a course that would be of use to the managers and producers, but also to some of the other concentrations, and really kind of looked at what were we not teaching or what were we not covering. And it was, as Stephen said, our classroom is all over the city. New York is your classroom, but we don't have a relationship with one not-for-profit theater, which some programs have, and what that resident theater in America. And what that means is that our students, when they graduate, they're working in the resident theater all over the country, but they're not necessarily as knowledgeable as they could be about how those theaters run. And for producers, they're not necessarily as knowledgeable and as competitive as they could be. So it's really a course about what it says, unpacking how these theaters work. I call it casually and informally, how the sausage is made, right? How do these theaters work? But because it's us, and because we talk about both nonprofit and commercial, it's also, we touch on how do the two collaborate? How does the commercial sector intersect with the not-for-profit sector? What do enhancement arrangements look like? So it's a course that identified a need. It's a course that focuses on collaboration, and it's a course that's designed not only to provide knowledge, but to help you when you graduate, and if you move into those spaces, to move into those spaces more successfully and effectively.
So the prior slide was a list of all the courses we currently offer. Some of them are required courses. Some of that, in some cases, we give you a choice of courses and allow you to opt
Right.
in
First
or
year is a
out.
little more prescribed. Second year is a little, there's more opportunity to do electives.
Exactly. But as I also mentioned, every semester you have the opportunity to take at least one elective, if not two. And those electives can be drawn from other concentrations within the theater program, from the film program, with most commonly the business of film being the one that our students take the most. The arts administration program at Teachers College, which I mentioned earlier, certain individual relevant courses at Columbia Business School, courses at Columbia Law School, and then really one
A
of the
whole
big
university.
advantages, yeah, it's such a big advantage of being here at this large university, where we had one student a few years ago who was really interested in urban planning and wound up taking courses on urban planning because that was offered here at Columbia University.
And I also think it's important to say that within the theater program, within the theater program at the School of the Arts, your required courses will be in the management and producing track, but that doesn't mean that you can't take courses in other disciplines. We have management and producing students who take intro to directing. We have managing and producing students who may take a playwriting course. Obviously, not all of those courses in the other concentration would be open to you, but there are courses that are, there's a course called Visiting Artists, which all the students from multiple concentrations take, which is a curated presentation of guest artists over the course of a term. So you're able to exercise other muscles within the theater, within your life as a theater maker by taking other courses, even within the theater program.
And a student who comes in, to your point, Tori, a student who comes in really wanting to be an artistic director or producing artistic director may wind up taking additional courses in the dramaturgy program.
Right, exactly.
So there, again, it's the opportunities to specialize or to individualize the program. And just to say one word about the pictures here, obviously they were taken during COVID, but every year our students have a course at the Schubert organization that talks about the theater owner perspective on the industry. And one of those class sessions always takes place at the Schubert archive and includes an obligatory photo with a Tony Award. Okay, let's focus in more on collaboration. We have all these amazing artists, not just the producing artists, but all the other amazing artists here in the theater program. And we think it's essential to take advantage of those opportunities for community and collaboration. So our students are required to get involved as producers or general managers of second-year productions, third-year productions. But there's more than that. We have what's called the Digital Storytelling Lab, which has students usually from all different programs within the School of the Arts working in a digital space. We have opportunities for students to get involved in and produce extracurricular productions, either in some cases on campus, in spaces on campus, in other cases off campus. We actually have a third-year student who is producing 2 plays at La Mama this spring, downtown off Broadway, involving other Columbia students and alumni.
We have another third-year student who, over the course of the last 2 years, has produced 2 or 3 off Broadway shows with writers they met who are part of the program here. So it's you collaborate with other folks in the program, and out of those collaborations, someone will say, I have this play that I'm doing downtown off Broadway. I need a producer. Do you want to do it? We did so well together on our collab. And then there's a relationship that continues to grow there.
some students come into this program with a very active community outside of Columbia and New York City and want to continue working with those individuals.
Which is
And
fine.
and that's fine. And they do, a couple of productions up at Columbia to fulfill the requirement and maybe meet a few more people. That's great. And then we have other students who will work on 6, 7, 8 different productions over the course of their 3 years here at Columbia. And now an extra word about our collaboration intensive and collaboration studio projects. These are much newer initiatives in the theater program. Our collaboration intensive takes place in the first week of the spring semester. We cancel all classes or virtually all classes in that first week, and the students are gathered together.
First year program. It's in your first year.
First year students, they gather together to go through a process of creating a short play together. So think of 24-hour plays, but over 5 days. So to create a new play together, but also to investigate, explore the process of collaboration and become more mindful of all different aspects of that collaborative process. And then in the second year, students are grouped together in service of one of the second year playwrights' new plays. And you go through a process of new play development, which could in the end take the form of a staged reading or the production of one act of a 2-act play or a full-scale production. Tori, is there anything else?
No, I think
collaboration you want to mention?
we've covered it. I think that really covers it.
Great. Okay. Our London
Then we go to
trip.
London.
In the second year, a new feature of our program, which first started in the 2019-2020 school year. We got it in just under the wire before COVID shut down the world, and we've continued it since the COVID reopening, now in our 5th year. Our Columbia University Stage 1 exchange program. So Stage 1 is an offshoot of the Society of London Theatre, which is the association of producers, managers, and theater owners in the professional theater in the UK. They have this Stage 1 program, which helps to foster new producing talent. And so we've partnered with them. They host us for 1 week during the spring semester. We go to London. The trip is all expenses of that trip, including airfare, accommodations, airport transfers, and theater tickets, are covered by the program. And you spend a week immersed in the London theater community and in various workshops and tours and seeing theater, learning about the differences in the theater business and theater production in the UK. And then, in turn, in the fall semester, we have up-and-coming producers from the Stage 1 program in the UK who come to New York for a week. And we create a program for them to learn about the business of producing theater in America. So through that, there's some real strong, heavy-duty curriculum that's delivered, both in London and in New York. But also another big emphasis of this is on building relationships and expanding contacts and community in London and in New York for all the participants.
Yep.
And we've talked a lot about internships already.
This
but
is just an example of all the places that people have interned over the course of probably the last 10 years or so. So it gives you a real sense of what the different kinds of opportunities are.
And really just a selection of big companies, small companies, not-for-profit theaters, commercial general managers, commercial producers, marketing companies, advertising companies,
press offices,
trade associations. It really just runs the gamut. And one of the great things is that um, there are companies all over New York City who are eager to have our students come and work there. We have alumni who are working in New York City, who are eager to host who are eager to host current students in their offices and give them the same opportunity that they had when they were students. And so it's yet another way in which we try to sort of build contacts and build community. Let's talk about the thesis. So that first bullet says third year. Really and truly, the thesis process starts in the spring semester of the second year. I have a class entitled Creative Producing, and part of the curriculum of that particular course is beginning the process of brainstorming thesis ideas, developing your argument, starting the process of outlining and researching. And that's really where the thesis journey begins. It then continues over the course of the third year, as I said, while most students are working. But in the third year, you're really out actively researching and writing.
Interviewing, researching, and writing.
And the thesis is not a project. It's not producing a show. It's not starting a company. It is a real, true academic paper where you're making an argument and proving that argument. It is not as extensive as a PhD thesis. It's not a dissertation that you have to defend, but you do have two advisors, and you go through a process of research and meeting and writing and getting comments and rewriting and ultimately turning in a final draft. The final draft needs to be somewhere in the neighborhood of 50 to 100 pages. So I like to call that the broad side of our thesis barn, somewhere in that neighborhood. And because students are normally writing about something in the industry that they feel could be improved on, or some sort of conventional wisdom that they're trying to debunk, because of that, you're writing about a lot of the current operations of the industry, which really gives you an opportunity as part of your research, to conduct a lot of interviews. You learn a lot that way, but you also continue that process of making contacts. And because this is an area you are probably passionate about, and it might be an area at that point in your education that you want to eventually work in, you might wind up, those interviews give you a foot in the door to meet more people in an area that you might want to eventually work in. And we've had, I can't say it's a coincidence anymore, or that it's a fluke anymore. We have many, many students who go through the interview process of their thesis and wind up somehow landing a job with somebody that they interviewed, or with someone who served as their
People are
thesis
much more
advisor.
interested in, people are much more open sometimes to an interview. If a student says, I'm writing my thesis for Columbia University and I really would like to get your point of view, that's something that's incredibly flattering to the person that they're asking to interview. And someone who is not necessarily willing to take an interview about, is it possible that I might be able to come work for you, will absolutely take an interview on a thesis topic. And then, as Stephen said, you've met them, you've got your foot in the door, and you've had a conversation, and it's easier to then circle back to them later.
It sort of, on the one hand, you're doing research and you're doing writing and you're doing academic work. And on the other hand, you're continuing to build your network, make relationships, build relationships.
And sometimes it's an opportunity to write about something you're not going to pursue, but you really want to do a deep dive exploration into an idea or a research topic, and you're never going to have a chance to do that again. And you get to do that while you're writing your thesis.
I would say some students come in a little scared of the thesis requirement. We generally tell them to forget about it, at
Right.
least for a year and a half. And whenever any thesis topic, whenever they think about something that comes up in their studies, in their reading, where they think, oh, that could be a thesis topic, no, don't do anything other than just write it down.
Write it down so you
Make a
don't
list.
forget it. Make a list.
And then we dig into that starting in the second semester of the second year. A few words about our JD MFA for anybody who might be here tonight or watching this video interested in the JD MFA. So one thing to just be very clear about for starters, it is a joint degree program at Columbia Law School and in the School of the Arts, but it's only for students who are pursuing their MFA in theater management and producing. So
Right.
someone in the directing program or playwriting or film or anywhere else doesn't have the opportunity to do this joint program. It's specifically JD and MFA in theater management and producing. And if you took those two degrees separately, law school generally is 3 years. An MFA is 2 years plus thesis. So
6 plus.
3 years or so, right?
Five
So
and, yeah.
6 years
Five,
total,
6
5
years
plus a
total.
thesis year, if you did them separately. And this joint program gives you the ability to get both degrees in as few as 4 years. And that basically breaks down, and to do it in 4 years, essentially what happens is, the way the joint aspect of it works, is that you take electives of one program as required courses in the other program. So you get sort of double the bang for your buck, so to speak. You wind up spending in 4 years, 2 semesters per year, total of 8 semesters. 5 of those are spent at Columbia Law School, and 3 of those are spent in the School of the Arts. You can start that 4-year journey in either Columbia Law School or the School of the Arts. And if, in order to finish in 4 years, you actually write your thesis during your 4th year of coursework. So that's an option, and that gets you out in 4 years, or you can do 4 years of classroom study and then write your thesis during the 5th year. Applicants apply separately to each school. It's not an application where you say, I'm applying to the JD MFA program. You apply to the law school to the JD program. You apply to the School of the Arts for MFA in theater management and producing. And if you are accepted to both programs, you can raise your hand and elect to do them jointly. It's also possible, and we've had a number of students start in one program, in year 1 of the first program, apply to the other program.
Right.
And then if admitted, you can then elect the joint program starting in year 2. So there is that opportunity as well.
And the relevance of that for people either listening tonight or listening later is, if you're not sure that it's something you want to do and you know you want to do the management and producing program, you can do your first year in the management and producing program, talk with us in the fall, and then go ahead and apply to the law school, and you would do that as your second year. And that's happened once or twice.
Yeah. And I think, again, just to emphasize that those admissions processes for the 2 schools are completely separate. And being a student at Columbia Law School doesn't necessarily give you a leg up for your admissions here, or vice versa.
Right.
So the only way to be sure that you can do the program jointly is by being admitted to both in advance.
Right.
But there is the opportunity to do it while you're in the first year and to apply to the other program.
Right, but you have to be comfortable just doing one program or the other, because there's no guarantee that you're going to get the joint program.
Correct. The majority of students who have been through the joint degree program, I was actually the first one who went through that program. The majority are practicing lawyers doing entertainment and theater law, but not all of them. I'm not. I'm producing and general managing and teaching, and we have others who have followed that path as well. And for someone who is practicing lawyer, well, clearly for entertainment law, you can see the value of the two. But I would say, for me, having done the JD and the value I get from that JD program, from the law degree, in my day-to-day practice as a producer and manager and teacher is invaluable. We have a number of industry partnerships. And so the first is our Prince Fellowship. And I think I'll save that for the next slide, where I think we focus in on the Prince Fellowship and the Theater Leadership Project. We have a partnership with the Broadway Advocacy Coalition and Columbia Law School. At Columbia Law School, there's a course offered called Theater of Change, and our students have an opportunity to take that course alongside the law students and the artists that come in through the Broadway Advocacy Coalition.
And then there's the partnership with Stage One, which we've already talked about.
Correct. So zooming in on our Prince Fellowship. The Prince Fellowship is a non-degree program, so it is not an MFA, that lives alongside the MFA program. Every year, we admit usually 2 producing fellows through a completely separate admissions process. That program is project-based primarily. You, as a producer, you apply with a particular project, and over the course of 1 year, you get mentored by a number of different industry mentors who are listed on this slide, as well as a whole group of industry advisors. The great thing about this, I think, aside from the affiliation we have with those various mentors and advisors, is that the fellows sit in classes side by side with the MFA students. The fellows actually have the opportunity, as part of their fellowship, in addition to the project that they're developing, they have the opportunity to sit alongside the producing students in various classes. And so you also get to develop relationships with these up-and-coming producers who go on to produce on and off Broadway over the subsequent few years. And so that's a real big advantage, to get the benefit of their experience and to develop relationships with those.
And you travel with them because they come to London.
Correct. They do that London trip with us. And just to make it clear, the playbills on this page are just representative, are shows that are representative of our various currently 5 mentors. This program, the Prince Fellowship, was initially called the T Fellowship, named after a producer named T. Edward Hambleton. And it was founded in 2006 in association with Hal Prince, part of Hal's mission to help develop a new generation of commercial producers. And we have been extraordinarily successful in terms of the producers that have come through that program, all of which are now active producers in the industry.
But if it's a very different program than the degree program. And the advantage, as Stephen said, is the relationships that you build. The fellows come in with projects that they are looking to produce, that they're ready to produce.
And it is also possible for someone who goes through the MFA program to eventually return as a producing fellow.
Yeah.
We've had one alum who has done that, who was selected as a Prince Fellow. Financial aid. So a very important topic. we recognize that it is a huge commitment of time and money to go to graduate school. And we realize that when you look at the price tag, it can be daunting. And I think the thing that we emphasize is don't let the price tag scare you away, because we will do everything we can to try to find a way to make the numbers work.
Let me say that again. Do not let the numbers scare you. If you feel like this is the program for you, you apply to the program. If we accept you, we then do everything we can to try and make it work. The admissions process is needs blind, so we don't know. Once you're in, then there's a whole process by which we figure out, I use that generously. Julie's figures out what the need is, and then we figure out we do everything we can to get that for you. So please don't shy away from applying.
There are some students who come into the program and don't have any need, in which case they don't get aid. There are other students who come into the program who have a range of need. And I would say that the majority of our fellowships range from $10,000 to $50,000 per year for 2 years, for years 1 and 2. We also have our Barbara Whitman Fellowship that's been endowed by our alum, Barbara Whitman, who's a commercial producer. And that fellowship covers full tuition for years 1 and 2 of the program. We don't have financial aid for the 3rd year. And practically speaking, that's because, again, most students are usually cash positive in their 3rd year. The tuition is significantly reduced in the 3rd year because what you're paying is called research arts, and it's a significantly reduced tuition amount.
And you're making money.
Usually, yeah. If you've chosen to, you're working. And in addition to which, there's one other income stream, let's say, in the 3rd year, which is our Schubert internship stipend. So we talked about the internships and the fact that you're required to do 3 internships as part of this program. 2 of those internships, and doesn't matter if they were free, if you worked for free or if you were a paid minimum wage, 2 of those internships will ultimately qualify or can qualify for our Schubert internship stipend, which is supported by a grant each year from the Schubert Foundation. And so you might complete your Schubert internships in the spring semester of the 1st year, or in the 1st summer, or at some point in the 2nd year. Whenever you complete those 2 qualifying internships, they get checked off. And in your 3rd year, you receive a stipend for those internships.
For having done those internships.
So between the significantly reduced 3rd year tuition, the jobs that you might have, jobs that you might have, and the internship stipend, again, most students are cash positive, and so we don't have financial aid in the 3rd year. The other thing to know about is that there are, in addition to potentially qualifying for work study positions, there are additional opportunities called student service positions, generally for 2nd year students, but occasionally open to 1st and 3rd year students. And those are really across the School of the Arts. So they could be very theater specific. And for example, we have producing students who serve as TAs or as theater operations or supports theater operations for our thesis productions, or who do marketing for our departmental productions, or remember those free tickets we talked about? They manage all the free ticket offers. So there are a lot of jobs that you can get in the theater program that actually are useful as a resume credit, as a job credit. And those service positions are paid. And and are additional ways to supplement your income while a student. In terms of some of the logistics of admissions, the application materials, we'll talk through those quickly, they are a transcript or transcripts from educational institutions that you've attended. The application materials do not include GRE scores or any other testing. We do not require any standardized testing for this application. 3 letters of recommendation, 2 essays, one of which is a personal statement telling us about who you are and your background, and another a statement of objectives, which is more along the lines of what are your life and career goals? And then there's the creative materials component, which could be a portfolio of marketing and press materials for shows that you've worked on, or it could be a portfolio of shows that you've produced or managed, or it could be a third essay where you write about a play or musical that you would produce. And it is that essay assignment for the creative material is intended to be creative. And as such, it's a really wide open prompt that we give you. We're often asked, is it better to do a portfolio or a play analysis? The answer is, it's your choice. One is not better than the other. It's whatever happens to be right for you. What we really are looking for as part of the written materials that you submit is to get a better sense of who you are, at least on paper. We want to get a well-rounded sense of who you are. Don't try to describe yourself as somebody who you think we want you to be. Who are you?
So the answer to which is better is whichever you feel is going to best introduce us to you.
And then hopefully that process of learning who you are continues through the interview process. So the application deadline this year is January 6th, after which the admissions office compiles those applications and sends it to us, to our admissions committee to review. It takes us a few weeks to review the applications, and we narrow down to a shorter list of individuals that we invite to interview. Interviews may be in person or on Zoom, depending upon where you're located. We also, as part of the interview process, have opportunities for Q&A with current students. And then finally, we get to the process. Those interviews usually happen the very end of February or beginning of March. And then we make admissions offers about mid-March. And I've also put on this slide information on the website. It's unlikely you're here without knowing where that website is, because it probably led you to RSVP for this evening.
Yep.
And then if you have other questions, the SOA, School of the Arts Admissions Office email and phone number. And so we've talked a lot about the program. I'd like to finish off with just a selection of the students from this program started back in the very early 1980s. So we've been around for a while now. So this is really just a very small selection of alumni and where they are and what they've done.
And you can see they're all over the country. They're they are in nonprofit organizations, they're in commercial organizations, they're on the producing side, they're on the management side. There's just a whole host of things that folks can do and choose to do when they finish.
So I'll just leave this here for a moment. the light at the end of the tunnel is graduation, which is a great day. And um, should I talk about I'm going to talk about the picture, the lower picture.
Yeah, this does not happen often.
It does not happen every year, but you know what? Some special things happen
Happen
in this
all the time.
program. And the class of 2018 was in class with Robert Freed. He's in the middle of the photo. He's an longtime adjunct faculty member who actually
They're
helped us
taking
develop.
accounting. This is an accounting class.
Yes. So accounting class, you think accounting would be boring, but no. They were in accounting class, and Robert said to them, in a few weeks, I'm going to have to cancel class and schedule a makeup because I'm going to Chicago for the opening night of Hamilton. Robert, among many other shows, is the accountant for Hamilton. And the class, half jokingly, said, let's go with you to Chicago and have class there. Invite us to opening night. And Robert left class that day, got on the phone with Jeffrey Seller and the producer, and then also the general managers of Hamilton, arranged invitations for that entire group to come to the opening night of Hamilton in Chicago. And that's what happened. And they had class in Chicago before opening night.
So while it may not always involve out of town, these are the all kidding aside, it's, I think, indicative of the give and take between professors and the students and the freedom to ask the question and say, why not take us? And he absolutely thought, well, why not? Let's see what we can make happen. The why not? Let's see if we can do this is something we say all the time.
And I'll say that this field trip to Chicago was part of the inspiration for what eventually became the London trip,
The London trip, yeah.
which Robert helped us put together. And Robert
Right, because the first
goes with
London
us
year
every year to
was
London.
the first London year was 2 years later.
Yeah.
Was the winter of 2020.
Yeah. So
That's it.
thank you for sharing this journey with us. Thank you for sticking with us. We're happy to answer questions if there are any here live in the Zoom. If you're watching this recording, we also encourage you that if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. My email, Tori's email, are on the bottom of those emails are on the bottom of this slide.
So that's what we have for you. I don't know if there are any questions here, but yes, Brian, looks like you have a question. Hello,
Hi.
nice to meet you.
Hi, nice to meet you. Sorry I had my camera off.
That's fine.
My name is Ryan. I'm really interested in applying, and I was also wondering if you tend to get applications from people who applied to other departments or concentrations within the School of the Arts and how they usually go about that. I'm considering applying to more than one concentration, but yeah, I was wondering how that usually works.
So you can apply to more than one concentration. The admissions process is separate. There are separate admissions committees for each concentration. And there are occasionally applicants who get offers to two concentrations, and then it's up to the applicant to decide. I think, the important thing, that the journey that you're probably on, or that I think you'll find yourself on, whether it's an applicant who is applying to multiple programs at different schools, or even here at Columbia, multiple concentrations within our program. It's a little bit of a fact-finding mission of what program is right for you and why, what curriculum is right for you and why, and what path are you on?
And I would encourage you, if you're thinking about both, you also should feel free to ask questions ahead of time. In other words, if I'm thinking about both because I have no idea what you're thinking about, but sometimes there's overlap, I think, between producing, management and producing and dramaturgy from people who are interested in being artistic directors, for instance. Or, reach out to us and we'll be happy to chat with you about what the differences in the two concentrations would be relative to what you're interested in being, or go through the process. And then if you have an embarrassment of riches and you're accepted into both programs, you can reach out to us then.
That sounds great. Thank you so
Yep.
much.
And there's a, again, depending upon the particular concentration, there's a lot of cross-registration among the concentrations.
Right, because if, for instance, we know that that's what you wanted and you end up in our concentration, but we knew you were very interested, then that would become part of the, well, when you think about your electives, this is something you might really want to consider.
Yeah.
And obviously, if we admit a student into our concentration, we really, really want you in
We
our
do everything we
concentration.
can, and I do think it's fair to say we often prevail, but whatever.
We're really nice. We're fun. But on top of that, for students who might choose a different concentration, there are no hard feelings, and it's one community here.
Yeah, this seems like such a great place to be, and I really enjoyed the presentation. It answered a lot of my questions.
Great.
Excellent. Any other questions?
Yep, one
Avivi?
more.
Yes, hello, nice to meet you. I'm Avivi. First of all, thank you so much for sharing all those details. It's really exciting to hear those opportunities. And I have one question that can be specific or broad, is that I find on the website, it says the application requirement include a current theatrical resume. I am wondering, does it means that the program wants us to submit a resume more related to theater, or it can be a CV including all other academic field that we have experienced? Because I might come from a more liberal art and interdiscipline background that I did a lot of things probably outside of theater. So I'm wondering, should I submit a CV including all these or more particularly focus on theater?
So what I would say is a resume that includes everything is great. I think the reason why we sort of say theatrical resume, at least from my perspective, is sometimes a person's sort of general resume may give really short shrift, may summarize your theater experience and not really go in depth into it. And we're interested in really in knowing all the work that you've done in the theater. Right. So if you've produced a lot of different shows, for example, it might be worth having a second page of your resume, right? Whereas some people might have a resume that says producing experience, productions available upon request, right? And just kind of summarize it all. We'd love to have a better idea of everything that you've done. And so that's why we use those words, at least from my perspective.
But also, if you've done multidisciplinary work, that's really important and helpful for us to know, because there are plenty of people, we've had plenty of people in the program whose background may have been the performing arts, but not necessarily, may have been music, may have been opera, may have been, right? I mean, it's not in our program, but in the dramaturgy program, because I teach, with collaboration. In the last 3 or 4 years, there have been one or actually, I think 2 people with a very strong dance background, right? I mean, so it's what, again, it comes back to who are you and what do you want us to know to help us understand why you are someone who's going to work in the theater, who's going to be work in the theater and be happy there and have a contribution to make to the field. Does that make sense?
I really want to know about the non-theater stuff that you've done.
Yeah.
We're really interested in that. Because again, that just helps us in terms of sort of getting a better understanding of your life experience and everything that you as a student would be bringing to the table in the classroom.
And this doesn't lend itself to a slide, but I think it's important to understand that when we put a class together, if it's 8 people with very different backgrounds, often, right? Well, we're interested in bringing people together who are going to form a cohort, but we have individuals who come into the program. Sometimes we have someone who's been in another career and they've always wanted to produce and they have some level of experience, but it's not wasn't their day job. And now they're ready to do, well, we may say that's the right person for this program. So it really, people come in with all sorts of backgrounds. And so just let us know who you are.
That sounds perfect. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Yes.
I have a quick question if you have the time.
Mhm.
It's more regarding your admissions process. I'm kind of wondering if you view applicants individually or if you tend to think of like your classes as a whole in terms of like the experiences that each student is kind of bringing in when thinking about an entire class.
Both. Yeah, both the individual as well as what the personality of the group is going to be like and how to put people together in a room.
And I would say first it's the individuals.
Mhm.
And then there's a moment when then you have to think, okay, and how is this group? Is this a group that's going to create the best learning environment for everyone?
Yeah, I think it's like casting or akin to casting, right? You want great
Yeah.
talent, but you also want everybody to work together on the show and be a strong ensemble.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, you're building a network, right? Hopefully the relationships that you form both kind of professionally and personally while you're in school are relationships that will carry you forward.
And they do. That's been borne out for sure. Okay.
Okay.
Well, thank you for joining us in person. If you're watching us at some point during the year, thank you
Thank
for
you.
taking the time to do that. And we look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you all so much.